hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Barely? All right.
Turn up your hearing aids.
All right, is that okay? I can hear me. It's loud. All right. We haven't put in orders for a drink. Do it now. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're with us in person today or watching a video that will be available on the website. I'm pleased to call to order the annual meeting of the Ocean Club of Florida. All legal requirements have been met to convene this meeting, and Susie Lyman, our club secretary, issued a notice of this annual meeting on March 15th. Serving as official tellers for this meeting are two esteemed past presidents, Mary Ann Galt and Jack Alves. Thank you both for your help today. I would now call on Mary Ann to report on the number of regular members present in person or by proxy.
The number of members present in person or by proxy is 230.
Thank you, Mary Ann. We hereby proclaim a proper quorum exists to conduct the business of the meeting. So the agenda for the meeting is to first take care of our annual meeting formalities, and then a few of the committee chairs and I will share brief reports on important aspects of the club. The Ocean Club is fortunate to have many members who volunteer their time to serve on the Board of Governors and our various committees. On behalf of your fellow members, I thank all of you for your contribution to the Ocean Club. I do want to recognize those individuals who have given generously of their time to serve as president of the club and who continue to make themselves available in any way that is needed. And as I call your name, I'll ask that you please stand. Mitch Engel, who's not here. Dennis O'Keefe, who's not here. Stallworth Larson. Stallworth here? I didn't see Stallworth coming. All right. We're 0 for 3. Jack Alves. I know Jack is here. Ned Evans. I thought Ned was... Oh, Ned's in the back. All right, Ned. Thanks for joining us. Mary Ann Galt. And Don Young. Oh, and Annie McKechnie, sorry. You went on the list for last year, so when I copied my script, I didn't have it down. Sorry about that. Next, I'd like to recognize the members of the current Board of Governors and thank them for all of their substantial efforts over this past year. This has been a busy year for the Ocean Club, and we are fortunate to have such a dedicated group of governors. So I'll call out the names of each of the governors, and when I call them, please stand and remain standing. John Baker, Eleanor Bierbauer, Wally Burke, who is not here today, Susan Hooper, Susie Lyman, Joe Park, Ashley Perriott, Tony Ritter, Larry Ritter, Mary Sullivan, Jimmy Tomorrow, Bruce Warwick, Craig Whiting, and Greg Zink. Thank you for So I'd like to make a few comments on the two governors that will be leaving the board after the meeting today. The first is Tony Ritter. Tony is the ultimate trusted advisor. From the time I joined the Finance Committee, before I joined the board until now, I always listen and value whatever comments and suggestions that come from Tony. He is practical, clear, and direct, and has been a valuable member of the board. I and the board will miss you, Tony. Your advice and counsel is welcome at any time in the future. Thank you. And Larry Ritter. Larry has served as chairman of the Buildings and Grounds and Finance Committees and has provided steady leadership to both. Most of you will remember Larry's command performance at our annual meeting last year, one of the finest finance presentations at an annual meeting that I've ever witnessed. More recently, Larry's been an important member of our capital subcommittee, working to understand our future capital needs under many different scenarios. Thank you, Larry, for your leadership and steady hand. You'll be missed as well. I would now like to recognize those members that we've lost over the past year. If you are able, I ask that you stand and bow your head in silence while I read those names. Dennis Cross, Louise Aylward, Bardell Offutt, Tuck Maddox, Joan Zabel, Sissy Wheeler, Jim Burley, Catherine Gogolak, Henry Valentine, Richard Thompson, Sally Roberts, William Hooper, Charles Lay. May they remain forever in our hearts and in our memories. Thank you. Be seated. Our nominating committee was chaired by Wally Burke and included Eleanor Bierbauer, Jim Sullivan, Jimmy Tamaro, and Julie Whiting. As listed in the proxy they received, the nominating committee made the following recommendations for election to the Board of Governors. The re-election of Eleanor Bierbauer, Susie Lyman, and Alan Weaver to their second three-year term. The re-election of John Baker and Joe Park to a two-year term. The election of Lisa Sunshine to a three-year term beginning May 1st, 2024. And the election of B.B. Duke to a one-year term to complete the term of retiring Governor Tony Ritter. B.B. will be eligible for 2 additional terms with a total time served not to exceed 6 years. I will now ask Jack Alves to read the results of the proxies and in-person voting on these elections.
Eleanor Bierbauer, Susie Lyman, and Alan Weaver have been re-elected for a second term, three-year term, commencing May 1st by an overwhelming majority. John Baker and Joe Park have been re-elected to serve a two-year term, have been commencing on May 1st by an overwhelming majority as well. Congratulations. Elected to serve a three-year term commencing May the 1st by an overwhelming majority. This is an overwhelming majority group here, so thank you. And B.B. Duke has been elected to serve a one-year term commencing May the 1st by an overwhelming majority as well. Congratulations to all.
Thanks, Jack, and welcome Lisa and B.B. to the board. Look forward to working with you next year. Before our reports, I'd like to ask General Manager Joe Pavone to come up and recognize some special anniversaries.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. We got a great crowd here. No script needed for these two. I can't say enough about the two people that are celebrating their anniversaries. 5-year anniversary for Miss Melissa Bouzoulet, my right hand. There we go. And Stephen is celebrating his 25th year here. And with that, I have a special little pin for Stephen for commemorating his 20th anniversary. Thank you very much. Stephen, one other thing. I took that out of your showcase, so you're going to be...
Thanks, Joe, and congratulations to Stephen and Melissa. Two critical people for the Ocean Club. Melissa does just about everything. There's nothing that she doesn't do. And we are so lucky to have her to kind of keep everything moving forward. I think think every committee chair, when you talk to them about what their committee is doing, they'll say, well, just talk to Melissa. Melissa's doing an email. And can't say enough about Stephen. I thought Stephen had been here since 1962, actually. He is the heart and soul of the Ocean Club, the person you most like to see when you come to go to lunch or to the beach or the pool. Always a smile, always a good word, remembers his incredible number of names and families and everything else. So very lucky to have Stephen as part of the Ocean Club family. I'll make a few comments, and then we'll bring Larry Rigger up to talk to do the treasurer's report, and then Susie Lyman will make some comments on membership. So this has been a very good year for the Ocean Club. Not perfect, and I acknowledge that we still have things to work on. But as I reflected over the past year, I felt that we've made progress on some very important objectives. We held events that brought the buzz back to the Ocean Club. We will deliver solid financial performance, and we began the process to significantly upgrade our clubhouse. At the State of the Club meeting in November, I outlined the major board priorities for this season. To remind you, they were maintain a solid financial position, enhance the member dining experience, freshen the appearance of the clubhouse, manage the impact from the condominium project next door, develop a facilities master plan, increase board communication and transparency. With a lot of hard work from your board and from our dedicated Ocean Club staff, we made progress against each of these objectives, albeit with more to do. In a minute, Larry will cover their financial performance, which is a very good story, so I won't go into that. But let me make some comments about how we enhanced the member experience in the past year. More umbrellas, cabanas, and a larger lawn area made for an even better experience around our terrific pool and beach. Made even more pleasant by our first-rate lifeguard staff, headed by Kyla. A subcommittee of our House Committee, which included Mary Sullivan, Linda Sullivan, and Jackie Owen, made some much appreciated upgrades to the clubhouse. Freshening up the entrance, carpeting and wallpapering the coral room, wallpapering the pineapple room, and making several other updates, which made the clubhouse more inviting. Also, thanks to our House Committee, and I want to give a special shout out to Mary Sullivan. She doesn't like attention, but she's going to get some. We held some of the best events at the Ocean Club in my memory. Trivia night, disco night. If you haven't seen the disco pictures, go look at the disco pictures. I'm glad I was out of town. Farm to table dinner, fishing derby, our first men's night, which was a terrific evening, to go with another great ladies' night, the fashion show, and many others. Just fantastic events, great participation by the membership, and a lot of new and creative ways of being with your members enjoying the Ocean Club. I point out that all these events were also made possible by Chef Anthony and his kitchen staff and our hardworking wait staff. Our tennis program had another great year, thanks to Ashley Perry and her tennis committee, and the hard work of Scott, Sarah, and our tennis staff. We have just a terrific tennis program. I don't play tennis, but I'm jealous. I wish I played tennis because they seem to have a lot of fun. Their events are always well attended and get rave reviews from members and more importantly from guests when we bring guests for different events. We also varied our menus during the week, kept our food prices flat to last season, reinvigorated Monday nights with the new mix and mingle format, and if you haven't come on Monday, I encourage you to do that. Featured some specialty cocktails, a much improved wine list, and continued with the ever popular Wine Down Friday, where we've had some magical Friday evenings. March was just a spectacular month by the pool on Friday nights. And let's not forget the monthly seafood buffets and Ocean Club tradition, as well as Italian night, Greek night, and April in Paris. Just some great events, great dinners, and great opportunities to be with your fellow members. In short, the club looks great. I don't think it's ever looked better. And activity levels are returning, and in some cases exceeding the pre-COVID levels. For that, we owe a debt of gratitude to Joe, Chef Anthony and Ray in the kitchen, Stephen, Courtney, Carlos, Warren, his staff, and Melissa and Diane in the office, and all of their dedicated team members. I'd ask you to please show your appreciation for all they do to make the Ocean Club. all that get a cheerful voice and a helpful voice on the other side of the phone when you walk in the door and have a smiling face to say hello. So really, really appreciate both of them. Now let me make a few additional comments about our food and beverage service, which is much improved as we rebuild both our kitchen and wait staff after much attrition during COVID and our pool construction project. Feedback from members this past season has been much better, and we've received many very complimentary comments. That doesn't mean we're perfect, and we also continue to receive more constructive comments than we would like. We take each of those comments seriously. Please know that Joe, Chef Anthony, Stephen, and all of our staff involved in food and beverage are dedicated to making your dining experience a good dining experience. And I would say in the majority of situations that happens. I mean, the feedback is quite good, actually. When you have a good dining experience, let Chef Anthony and let your server know. When you don't, let us know as well. To continue to improve your dining experience, we are commencing the search for a food and beverage director, which we hope to have in place at some point over the summer in advance of next season. In the meantime, I want to thank our entire food and beverage staff for all of their hard work this past season. For those who took the clubhouse tours, I encourage you if you haven't taken them, you know how challenging we make their job. They do work incredibly hard, and I must say, you are a tough group with demanding standards. That's okay, and we strive to meet those standards. But please, show your appreciation for our staff members. They've earned it, they deserve it, and we are very fortunate to have them. Another important priority this year was to manage the impact from the condominium project to our north. Thanks to a lot of time and effort by Bruce Warwick, we are very close to finalizing an agreement with both parties, with the developer of the condominium, which is good for both parties. Most importantly, we will provide relief to setback requirements on our shared property line in exchange for an access path between our buildings, which will provide access to our lawn and beach area. Setback relief for the Ocean Club to accommodate any enhancements we might make to the clubhouse. And the provision of a 2,000 square foot fitness facility next to the northwest corner of the building. The developer will provide the facility and all the equipment based on our specifications. So we'll get a state-of-the-art brand new fitness facility at no cost to the membership. The facility will be staffed and managed by the Ocean Club, and we'll have a 99-year lease on that facility. All in all, this is a very good arrangement for the Ocean Club compared to what some of the alternatives could be. Regarding the timing of the construction of the condominium, the developer is working on detailed drawings, and we expect we'll be working with the town of Ocean Ridge on permits in the near future. I would expect the construction could begin at some point next year, maybe in the spring, but there's not yet a firm date. When we have any information on a construction schedule, we will communicate with the membership. And once again, I want to thank Bruce Warwick for representing the Ocean Club so well. Thank you. Just a couple of comments about that property line. The corner of our bar area, that building, that's almost on the property line. And if you go east and where the North Cabana wall is, it's maybe 5 feet to the property line. So what's really critical about this agreement is that if we decide to do anything on that side of the property, and for those of you who came to the sessions, the better and the best, both of those contemplate something new on that side of the property, we would have to be back 25 or 30 feet from the property line with any kind of a new building. So with this agreement, we can build close to the property line where we are today, then have access to a path that'll get us all the way back to the beach and lawn. It's critical for both the project here and for the future of getting access to our property in the backside. And as a bonus, we get a fitness center. Our fifth priority was the development of a facilities master plan. This effort, led by Craig Whiting, has made great progress. So far, 210 members have taken a clubhouse tour, and another 192 have watched the tour video. It's on the website. Last week, I think over about 150 attended Clubhouse Concepts sessions in this room, and we have 6 more sessions scheduled for this week. We will also be taping one of the sessions this coming week, and we'll post it on the website for those members who are not able to attend in person. Clearly, this is a very important project for the future of the Ocean Club. I won't go into a lot of detail tonight, but we'll just say that we hope to be in a position to have a plan with strong member support approved by this time next year. What plan we put forward to the membership will be highly dependent on the member feedback from these concept sessions. So please, attend one if you haven't, attend one this week, or watch the taping and send us your feedback. You'll hear much more about this project at the State of the Club presentation next November. But I'd also like to thank Greg. Greg has put an enormous amount of time into this over the past year, and he's going to put an enormous amount of time into this over the next year. The last priority that we had was to increase board communication and transparency. And that is something only you can judge. We're trying to be more transparent. We're trying to communicate more frequently and listen more closely to your feedback. I hope that you feel we are making progress on this. And with that, I'll turn over to Larry for the financial report.
Thank you, Alan. Before I start talking about, can you hear me in the back? Yes. Before I start talking about the numbers, I'm going to tell you a quick story. When Debbie and I joined here about 14 years ago, and our last name is spelled R-I-T-T-E-R, we met Laura Evans, who was Mrs. Ritter, R-I-D-D-E-R. Mrs. Ritter's daughter. And Laura said to us, "It's nice to meet you, but my mother's been telling me that if I keep getting all these bills for wine, and I hardly drink it." And wouldn't you know, just a couple of years later, Tony joins, and I've been paying for him for the last 10 years. So let me start my remarks with some positive points about the club. The club has about $2.2 million in cash in the bank. We have very favorable long-term financing at 2.35%. We are at full membership, 450 members, and we will, we think, in the next 2 weeks, end this fiscal year at a break even, which compares to a year ago where the club lost on an operating basis about $300,000. You'll be getting the audit report from the year ended a year ago in the next week. We got it late. You'll get it, but that's the bottom line. So the thing that I'm most positive about is what I see here today. The number of people that are at this meeting and the number of you who have been to the tours and the sessions that Alan mentioned a few minutes ago. Over 200 people have toured the club, and another close to 200 have seen the video. And almost 300 people have attended or will attend this week the sessions that Alan, Craig, and I are working with Peacock and Lewis in explaining the remodel options. And I think what that tells me is that the people in this room and the people that aren't here today, but are members of the club, recognize that you are the owners of the club in addition to being the members of the club. And there's a big difference between being a customer of a business and the owner of a business. If you're a customer of a business, you usually generally care only about your last experience. But if you're the owner of a business, you care about a lot more, and mostly you care about the future of that entity and what it'll be like 50 or 60 years from now. And I appreciate that kind of attitude on the part of the owners of this club. So, let me talk about the business aspects of the business that we have. I want to talk about our 2 budgets. Some of this I talked about a year ago. Talk about it again. I'll give you a look at how we have performed in the past, how we're performing now, and more importantly, looking at the year ahead. So, each year the club prepares an operating budget. And this is not a budget that's put together by Joe Pavone by himself, or by Alan, or not by any one person. It is first prepared by Joe and Diane Pye, our controller, by talking to each manager of each individual department. And they put together a proposed budget for the upcoming year. And they began by reviewing that with the president and the treasurer of the club. And that is more of a negotiating session and a review session than anything else. And so there's debate back and forth, there's a revision made, and that revision goes to the finance committee. And again, it's challenged by the members of the finance committee, and it is revised again. And finally, the finance committee sends that budget to the board, and the board approves it. So a lot of thought goes into the preparation of that budget. Well, what does the budget look like? It's typically in business called an income statement, a profit and loss statement. Shows revenue coming in, expenses against that revenue, and the bottom line of either a loss, a break even, or a profit. So from a revenue standpoint, the revenue comes from us, the owners of the club. And the revenue is made up by regular members' dues, 450 of those. Tennis members' dues, 50 of those. Summer member dues. Last year we had 31 summer members. This year we think we'll have 40 or more. And it's made up from revenue that's generated by rent paid on the cabanas. And cabanas have been for a long time a subject of concern to a lot of people. But cabana revenue equals about $186,000 in the upcoming year. And that's a significant number in our budget. And if we didn't have the cabana revenue, every member's dues would have to increase by about $450. So there are two sides to the cabana equation. The other big part of revenue is food and beverage revenue. And against all this revenue goes the expenses of running the club. Every department, cost of food, cost of beverage, and so on. And as I stated before, this year we think we'll end up at a break even. Now let's talk about the year ahead of us. In a survey that was conducted about a year ago, the membership of the club told us the most important element to them in the experience at the club was consistency in food and beverage. And when you hear consistency, you think, well, can't they just fix it quickly? But it depends upon a lot of people and a lot of factors. And the biggest factor are the people that work here. The people that we see every day, the servers and the people at the bar. But it also depends, maybe even to a greater extent, upon the people that work in the kitchen that we don't see. Because they're responsible for preparing what we get. So, as you probably know, the government every month comes out with a labor report. And the labor report for March showed that total labor had increased, employment had increased by 303,000 jobs. And the labor force is made up of those people who are employed, plus those people who are looking for employment. And so the people that are looking for employment as a percentage of the total pie, total labor force, is called the unemployment rate. And the unemployment rate for the country for the month of March was 3.8%, a very low number historically of people unemployed. And the unemployment rate in the state of Florida is 3.1%. So what does that mean? That means that all these people that we count on and rely on are being offered jobs by our competitors, other clubs, other restaurants, other retail establishments. And the reason they would leave here is because they got a better deal somewhere else. And so the only way to counteract that, to attract the best people, to be able to train them and to retain them, is to be competitive in the marketplace. And to do that, the club has already taken steps approved by the board to make that happen. Several improvements have been made. Their wages will be increased so that we're competitive with what they can get from the little club, other clubs, restaurants. Their 401k plan will be enhanced. Their health insurance will be much better than they've had in the past. And as Alan mentioned, they will have a food and beverage director that will help with the training and the retention. And maybe insignificant to us, but very important to them, they're going to be paid weekly rather than bi-weekly. So every week they'll get the paycheck, just not every 2 weeks. And we think that those things will improve the consistency of food and beverage. And when you think that the club is at maximum capacity today in terms of membership, the only way you can afford to pay for those improvements, the cost associated with what I just outlined, and the continuing effects of inflation, is the money has to come from somewhere. And it has to come from us, the owners of the club. And so, to meet a projected break even for next year, dues will be increased by $525 a year for the operating budget. Now, let's talk about the other budget, the capital budget. The capital budget are funds that are set aside to pay for additions, repair, replacement of the major assets of the club. So the roof, the air conditioning units, the major kitchen equipment. Money is taken in from the members and from the future members to fund that. So, when someone joins the club, they pay an initiation fee. 10 years ago, that initiation fee was about $30,000. Today, it's $80,000, and in the future, it will probably be higher. And so that money comes in, and that money is set aside as in an account, interest-bearing account, pay for the requirements of the club. In addition to that, we have capital dues. Capital dues today are $100 a month. Of the $100 a month that we bring in, $45,000 a month, $38,500 a month is used to pay the debt service on the loan that we have. So you might say, well, if you got $2.2 million in the bank, why wouldn't you use that money to pay off part of the loan? And the reason is, we borrowed the money at 2.3+%, and we're earning 5% on the money that we have in the bank. So there's no reason to pay it off. Now, the bigger issue, though, is, people understand that if you have a bill, you have to pay it. If you're running your household and you get your property tax bill, you pay it. If you don't, the government takes your house, sells it, and pays the bill. If you have a business and you have employees, there's no question about paying the payroll. If you don't pay them, they don't come back. But what people, all of us, and the owners of business don't pay much attention to is the slow but certain deterioration of the assets of the club. So that we fail to recognize or fail to put money aside to take care of the future replacement of items. And the amount that we don't put aside is called the depreciation of those assets. Now, if you were running your household and you were the chief financial officer of that household, and you had a hot water tank that was leaking, and you called a plumber out, and the plumber said, it'll be $1,200 to replace it, and if you don't, your basement will flood. There'd be no question. You'd take care of it, you'd write a check, and be done. You probably didn't, over the last 10 years, have a can that you put money in every month, marked hot water replacement fund. But when you get that $1,200 bill, you are in effect giving yourself an assessment. Well, you can't do that in a big facility like this. And what many people have found out, a lot of us, is that when the building collapsed in Miami a year ago, because people who owned it hadn't put money in to replace things, the government stepped in and said, this is what you're gonna have to do now. And so that's why you hear all these stories now, up and down A1A, about what people are paying to fix up that they didn't reserve for and provide for in the past. So the long and the short is, for us to meet the requirements of the club and to build for the future, we have to increase the capital dues that we pay every month by $50 a month. So those are the facts, those are the numbers, that's where we are. I have never felt better about the club than I do today. One of our members said to me in a casual conversation about a month ago, the Ocean Club's good, but it can be better. I believe that the Ocean Club will be better, and I thank you, the owners, for making me feel that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. All delivered without a note. Intimidating. Now I'll ask Susie Lyman to come up and talk about membership.
No.
And glasses.
Thanks, Alan. Okay. I am here to report on some other numbers. For the second year in a row, the most important news I can share with you as this fiscal year comes to close and with regard to membership is that we end in a really solid, healthy position. This committee, this very hard-working committee, has been working with and processing applicants consistently from November right up until this past Friday when we conducted our last full morning of interviews for this fiscal year. Let me go to my numbers. We are at our cap of 450, which you've already heard. We have lost 13 of our members, 11 due to health issues and 2 to relocation. Conversely, this membership committee processed and approved 38 candidates for membership. 38 really marvelous new members. Get to know them. A couple of fun facts about this group of 38. 20 are direct legacies. The average age of the group is 60. They hail from, and you have to bear with me, Missouri, New York, Delray, Kentucky, Miami, Minnesota, California, New Hampshire, Illinois, Ocean Ridge. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Kentucky, Miami, Minnesota, California, New Hampshire, Illinois, Ocean Ridge, Michigan, Lantana, North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, Tennessee, Ohio, and Connecticut. That 38 brings the total number of new member candidates coming through over the past 2 years to just over 60. We have a waiting list as well as a healthy pipeline. The committee took its job seriously, and we asked our sponsors to really be part of the process. And without their efforts, we would not have these wonderful new people as part of the Ocean Club family. For those of you who took the time, we thank you. You made our job much easier by bringing candidates of such merit. While the committee will take a much-deserved brief break, the application process remains ongoing, and our venerable membership director, Melissa Beausoleil, I'm not sure where she is, invites and encourages inquiries at any time. This includes summer, which actually helps to position potential candidates for when the season begins. I'd like to note that almost every candidate spoke to our committee of being drawn and drawn back, in the case of legacy candidates, by the values of the Ocean Club. The sense of family and close friendships that grow and thrive from time at the beach, by the pool, on the tennis court, at the baby pool, over a quiet lunch or a lively Friday wind down. They noted a true appreciation of history and culture that they see embraced by our membership. There were days after interview sessions where our committee looked at each other, nodding our heads in agreement as if to say, it should always be like this. These are wonderful people. Hearing about our club from them provided little reminders to us all of how special this place we call the Ocean Club has been and how we carry the responsibility to carry that on. This club is a tapestry of shared experiences, and we are ambassadors of its history, no matter how long the length of time that we've been here. Each of us is responsible for not only attracting new members, but bolstering the bond among the existing ones. We collectively have many upcoming decisions that need to be made. I hope we will be reminded, sometimes by our brand new members, of this family, of how to go forward together as good stewards to the club and to each other.
Well said. Thank you, Susie, and thanks to you and your membership committee. I mean, 38 new members, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of new faces, which is fantastic. It's a lot of interest in the club, but that's a lot of work. Adding good members is a lifeblood for a successful club, and your committee's done just a tremendous job, so thanks. Got to do it again next year. Before we close, our bylaws require that the membership approve or ratify all actions taken by the board during the previous year. To that end, I'd ask Mary Ann Gall to make such a motion.
Thanks, Alan. Resolved that all the acts of the governors and the officers of the Ocean Club, as well as their representatives, since the last annual meeting on April 3rd, 2023, in their conduct of club affairs, and more particularly all contracts, agreements, commitments, and expenditures, as well as all other acts within their authority as prescribed in the club's bylaws, be approved, ratified, and confirmed.
Here, a second. All approved.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, okay, thank you. Before I conclude, I want to say a couple of words about Joe. You know, running a club is a complicated process, and there's a lot of moving parts to a club. One of the moving parts is that, in this club, is that every 2 years you get a new partner. And so Joe has to, get to know somebody, work closely with them, understand the other person's patterns, adjust his patterns and all that. And I just want to thank Joe for the partnership this past year. I feel like we worked very well together. I've learned to appreciate a lot of the little things that none of you see that Joe deals with and does skillfully, and how adept he is at a lot of aspects of managing clubs. So I want to thank you, Joe. Thanks for the partnership. So in closing, I want to thank all of you for your support, your feedback, and your encouragement. The Ocean Club, as Susie said, is a special place with a proud history, an enviable membership, the best pool and beach in South Florida, and a dedicated and hardworking staff. I've been honored this past year to serve as your president, and I look forward to the year ahead. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Judy?
I'm just wondering if the pool will be paid off by the time we launch into the new endeavor?
No. So the question is, will the pool be paid off by the time we launch into whatever we launch into? No, we've got another 6 or 7, 8 years, something like that. I mean, I think it was a 10-year loan. Does that sound right, Liz? So, when we figure everything out, we have to figure out how to deal with that loan. We'd like to keep it because it's a moneymaker. But it's unlikely that it'll be paid off. But we'll factor all that into whatever we bring to the membership. Somebody have a question over here? You don't have to ask questions, but I just want to make sure if you have them, that I give you an opportunity. In the concept sessions, you guys were not shy. So I did bring a flak vest today.
What can we do about Tony charging the mic up?
Work it out among yourselves. We have a Ritter and a Ritter that are going off the board, so we're Ritterless now next year. Out of that one itself. All right.
Can we move for adjournment?
We can, and what you've got it for, thank you, Jeff, that's the nicest thing you said in a long time. We got a great night tonight, we have fantastic weather, we've got Brian and the Rockers on the balcony, and on your way out, you'll be given a glass of champagne to toast the year, so thanks for your support, thanks for turning out tonight, and enjoy the evening.